The cabin stood deep within the Oregon Cascades, a silent sentinel against the encroaching wilderness. It was a Tuesday night in late October, the air crisp with the promise of winter, the scent of pine and damp earth clinging to everything. Inside, the Miller family found a fragile warmth. John, a quiet man with kind eyes, stoked the fire. Sarah, his wife, a woman of gentle strength, hummed a lullaby as she readied their daughter for bed. Lily Miller was 5 years old, a child with hair like spun moonlight and eyes that held the innocent wonder of her age. She loved stories of forest creatures, whispered secrets, and the comforting ritual of bedtime. This night, like countless others, was no different. Sarah tucked Lily into her small wooden bed, pulling the thick quilt high to her chin. A worn teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles, was placed carefully beside her. "Sleep tight, my sweet girl," Sarah murmured, pressing a kiss to Lily's forehead. Lily's eyelids fluttered, already heavy with sleep. The soft glow of a battery-powered lantern cast long, dancing shadows across the simple room. There was no electricity out here, only the deep quiet of the mountains and the crackle of the hearth in the main living area. After extinguishing the lantern, leaving Lily in the near-total darkness she preferred for sleep, Sarah paused at the door. It was a solid, oak door, heavy and reassuring. John had installed a new deadbolt just last month, a security measure against the isolation of their chosen home. Before she stepped out, Sarah reached back and turned the thumb latch of the deadbolt. The dull, metallic click echoed faintly in the small room. The door was locked, from the inside. A habit, born of peace of mind, ensuring Lily couldn't wander in the night, and more importantly, a silent barrier against the unknown wild just beyond their walls. John was waiting in the main room, sipping herbal tea. The fire cast a warm, orange glow across their faces. They spoke in hushed tones, planning the next day, enjoying the rare quiet that only truly settled once Lily was asleep. The wind began to pick up outside, a low, mournful sigh through the ancient trees, but inside, the cabin felt safe, impervious. The morning came, shrouded in a thick, wet fog that pressed against the cabin windows, obscuring everything beyond a few feet. John was already up, preparing coffee. Sarah, feeling a familiar maternal pull, decided to wake Lily a little early, perhaps for a special breakfast. She walked to Lily's door, a smile already forming on her lips. She reached for the doorknob and found it still locked. From the inside, a small, irrational flicker of annoyance touched her. Lily must have relocked it somehow after she left, but Lily was too small to reach the deadbolt. Sarah tried the knob again, then gently knocked. "Lilybug? Time to wake up, sweetie." Silence. A heavy, unnatural silence that swallowed the soft sounds of the cabin. She knocked again, harder, a sudden knot tightening in her stomach. "Lily?" No answer, just the oppressive quiet. A cold dread, sharp and sudden, pierced through Sarah's calm. She called for John, her voice a strained whisper. John, sensing her alarm, was at her side in an instant. He tried the door, locked. He tried to force it gently, then with more urgency. The old oak held firm. They both knew the deadbolt mechanism. It could only be engaged or disengaged from inside the room. Panic, cold and raw, began to claw at their throats. John, his face pale, retrieved an axe from the woodshed. With 3 hard, desperate blows, the old door splintered and gave way. The lock mechanism, still engaged, tore free from the frame. They stumbled into the room, their eyes frantically searching. The quilt was still pulled high on the bed. Mr. Snuggles lay exactly where Sarah had placed him. The room was utterly undisturbed. The small battery-powered lantern sat on the bedside table. Everything was in its place. Everything, that is, except Lily. The bed was empty. Lily Miller was gone. The initial search was a blur of frantic, whispered calls and desperate retracing of steps. John and Sarah tore through the cabin, calling Lily's name, their voices growing hoarse with terror. Every cupboard, every closet, every conceivable hiding spot was thrown open. Nothing, only the chilling echo of their own fear. When Sheriff Brody arrived, his face grim in the low light of the fog-shrouded morning, he found two parents on the verge of collapse. His deputies methodically swept the cabin, then the surrounding 50 yards, then a wider perimeter. They were experienced men, used to the strange disappearances that sometimes plagued the remote communities of the Cascades. But this was different. This was impossible. The room itself became the focus of a forensic nightmare. The broken door was carefully examined. The deadbolt, still in its locked position, confirmed Sarah's account. There was no sign of forced entry from the outside. The single window, facing the dense forest, was small and latched from the inside. The latch was still firmly in place. Its frame was dusty, undisturbed. No fingerprints other than Lily's tiny ones, smudged on the glass from child's play, were found. The small chimney that vented the room's compact wood stove was too narrow for even a small child to pass through. The floorboards, old and creaky, showed no signs of tampering. There was no secret passage, no hidden crawl space. It was a sealed box, and yet the box was empty. Outside, the ground was soft from recent rains. The fog, though heavy, was not so dense as to obscure fresh tracks. Search dogs were brought in, their handlers optimistic at first, then increasingly bewildered. The dogs circled the cabin, noses to the ground, then lifted their heads, confused. They found nothing. No scent trail leading away from the cabin. Nothing. It was as if Lily Miller had simply evaporated. Investigators meticulously dusted every surface, examined every fiber. They found Lily's small pajamas folded neatly on the bed where she had been placed. Her shoes were by the door. Her breath clung to the air, a faint, sweet smell that only deepened her parents' agony. There was no sign of struggle, no overturned furniture, no indication that anyone or anything had entered or left that room other than Sarah the night before and John in his violent breach. Sheriff Brody, a man who had seen the darkest corners of human nature and the cruel indifference of the wilderness, found himself without a single coherent theory. Abduction? Impossible, given the locked door and window. Sleepwalking? Where could a 5-year-old go in the dead of night, in a dense forest, without leaving a single trace, without ever being heard again? The nearest road was miles away, a winding, unpaved track through unforgiving terrain. No vehicles had been reported. The parents were questioned for days, then weeks. Every detail of their lives, their past, their relationships, was scrutinized. They were heartbroken, desperate, but cooperative. There was no hint of foul play, no motive, no suspicious behavior. They were simply parents whose child had vanished from a room locked from the inside. The case grew cold, then colder. Years passed. The cabin, once a place of warmth and family, became a monument to an impossible absence. Its windows stared blankly into the forest, a silent testament to the night Lily Miller disappeared. John and Sarah never returned to live there, though John would visit sometimes, standing in the empty room, tracing the outline of where Lily's bed once stood, searching for an answer that would never come. The question lingers, a whisper carried on the wind through the pines. How does a child vanish from a room locked from the inside, leaving no trace, no clue, only an unbearable silence? The wild Cascades hold their secrets close, and some, it seems, are never meant to be uncovered.